Let's get right into this review for Black Phone 2. Alright, so this film is directed by Scott Derrickson, who also worked on the original film back in 2021. The film stars Mason Thames and Ethan Hawke again, along with other notable performances this time around, especially coming from Madeline McGraw, who plays the sister to the MC. Now I have to say, I thoroughly enjoyed the first film and found it to be a wholly original horror experience back then, with good payoff to the entire B-tier story concept involved by the end of it. So I was quite surprised and a bit excited when I saw the previews leading up to the latest installment here, and I definitely wanted to check this one out at the theaters. And now that I've seen the film, what did I think about the cinematic package here? I thought this was a pretty solid time. Not a whole lot of complaints from me. So to start off with the positives, I really enjoyed the casting here. Everyone did a solid job with their performances to keep me focused to the drama at hand. I feel like I've been seeing Mason Thames a lot more on the big screen, and I'm all for it. I think dude's in it for the long run now, and I'm excited to see other projects he'll continue to work on. But yeah, it seems like everybody truly understood their characters and the story being explored here, so kudos to the entire cast's performances. I also loved how the film visually splits apart the dream sequences from reality by adding grain to the frames. It's a relatively simple concept, but just added that much more visual clarity to the entire experience, which I appreciated. Also, the general premise and story remains cohesive enough, even with some of the major plot holes present or B-tier story execution involved behind the whole concept of the Black Phone. I still found the payoff to the entire cinematic experience to come through loud and clear, and the film provided me more of what the first film built upon, which left me satisfied enough by the end. Now, I will say if you haven't watched the first film before jumping into the sequel, it might be a bit more confusing to catch up and understand what's going on. The concepts to some of the supernatural elements are a tad bit obscure early on within some major segments, with a lot of the core concepts being explained in the first film. So this is one of those sequels where I'd recommend you check out the previous film beforehand. This won't be a huge deal breaker if you go into the second film blindly, but I can see how you'll be left confused earlier on until the later points in the story. And again, not a whole lot of negatives for me to say here. I think for a B-tier story concept foundation that sometimes stooped into the C-tier zone, they did a fantastic job with the story route for this sequel. There were the occasional plot hole moments here and there, but honestly, none of that ruined the cinematic experience for me. And with a $30 million budget, they did a bang up job in effectively utilizing these smaller set locations, along with the tidied up cast involved. And none of it ever felt cheap. All of the story elements felt meticulously placed to make for a solid and fun viewing experience. My final score for Black Phone 2 is 8.5 out of 10. This was a fun cinematic experience for me as far as sequels go for horror films. This isn't the scariest film out there, but there are serviceable horror elements to it. If you enjoyed the first film, I don't think you'll be disappointed by the end of this. Now, was this a necessary sequel to tell? No, but I still found more positive qualities than negatives by the end of my screening. Anyways, thanks for checking this review out. I'll have more coming out this week, so stay tuned for that, and I shall see you on my next upload. Until then, stay safe out there, and peace.